Okay. Says we're live. So, hello. Hey everyone. I am in a couple of different groups here. First of all, on Facebook, I'm in Access Consciousness, the Foundation 365, and I'm also on my Instagram page, Julie Tootin Energy. So, hello everybody. Hi Danielle. Thanks for watching. And this is Transformational Tuesday. And apparently, every Tuesday in this group on Facebook, there's a different facilitator talking about the amazing possibilities of transformation using the foundation tools of Access Consciousness. And I was invited to show up today and talk about what amazing transformation is possible using these tools. So I chose the topic beauty in the breakup, which is it's so multifaceted actually, like a gemstone. You know, we don't just have breakups with relationships, we also break up with ourselves, we break up with this reality. There's so many different ways that we can break up. And what if none of them was ever wrong or bad? What if it actually gave you access to more of you, the being, and what you've come here to be, and what is truly possible? So I'll back up to when I first found Access Consciousness back in 2003, I think it was. I was married. I was 15 years into a 20-year marriage, and I had two beautiful kids. I had this amazing business. We owned a house in San Francisco, my favorite city, and I was doing everything to basically get this reality right, to have the right relationship, to have the right business, live in the right city, um, like be the best couple out of all the people that we knew, and just do everything right. How many of you can relate? It's like you grow up listening to fairy fairy tales and stories, and you see people and you're like, just want to do it right. You want to get what you're supposed to do in this reality rather than be who you be. And so while I had that going on one hand, I also had this totally different awareness of greater possibilities, and that trying to force things into being and get things right was a lot of effort, and it wasn't a whole lot of fun. Um, Even though sometimes you have that momentary of like, wow, everything looks right, but it's a little bit hollow. And so I knew that there was so much more possible. I always was interested in magic and telepathy and um, outside of the box possibilities that nobody in this reality really got. And I wasn't even able to speak about a lot of it until I met some people in Access Consciousness who were also seekers of greater possibility. And when you find other people who are willing to look beyond the walls and the ceiling of what's normal and average and what everybody else agrees with, it's like this totally expansive, energetic acknowledgement of your being and what you it's like what you be, and it invites it to be more. So when I found the tools, I um, I was amazed at how the clearing statement worked, even though I didn't know what it meant. I went to my chiropractor. I had neck pain. I sat on his table and he said, "What is a pain in the neck?" And I was like, "Oh, you know, husband, the kids, you know, laundry." And so he asked me to destroy and uncreate all of that. And I said, "Okay." And he was like, "Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds." And instantly the neck pain went away. And I was like, "What was that? What did you just say?" The energy just totally changed in my body. He didn't have to adjust me, it was gone. And so I got curious and I started taking his clearing nights. And when he had a foundation, I took his foundation class. And I started doing every class I could do because it kept giving me more of me and more of what I knew was possible. And it's interesting when Gary always said that healing is a side effect of consciousness. So the more consciousness you choose, the more your healing of every possibility that you think is wrong or not working just starts to work itself out. Even physical stuff changed. Um, and the more I got conscious and present, the more I realized that I didn't need to keep putting all this energy into trying to create the perfect marriage, the perfect life, the perfect this reality. It was like my awareness of what else is possible grew and grew, and my presence in daily living grew and grew. And I couldn't hide anymore from the things that no longer served me, that I kept choosing. And so at a certain point, about 5 years into using these tools, um, I had a talk with my husband and I was like, "You know what? This isn't actually working. Like, we are really trying and we are great friends, but the marriage isn't really working. So let's use the tools to separate with kindness for ourselves, for each other, and for the kids." And it was quite amazing what transformed. Um, we agreed on separating and dividing up our belongings and who's going to take the kids when and all of this. And it was so easy and it was so kind. And we didn't have to blame each other. We actually forgave each other for everything that we had done that might have been an unkindness. Um, and wouldn't it have been awesome if if that maintained? But you know, after we broke up about a year later, he stopped using the tools and he started going back into judgment, and um, his life took a different direction. And so it wasn't as friendly as it was before. However, that was his choice. And for me, I could still choose for me and my life and the kids and create beyond the breakup. And so this is what I've done. I've continued using the tools and creating my life greater and inspiring other people to choose beyond what they think is impossible and create their lives greater. And it's like, what are we waiting for? Why are we hovering in something that doesn't work? Choose something greater and don't be afraid of the breakup, because what I have found is that every time somebody moves through a barrier like that, they come out so much stronger and they have so much more of them and they're so much clearer on where they want to go and what they want to create. It is a process, though. So a couple years after we broke up, I was on a radio show with Gary Douglas, founder of Access. He invited me on to Voice America, and he was talking about conscious divorce. And during one of the breaks, he asked me to write the book. He's like, this needs to get out there in the world. So I wrote the book, Beauty in the Breakup, which divides the process into 6 steps that people tend to go through. Like, where am I? You start with where you are. And then looking at what works for you and clearing the past. Because when you clear your points of view of the past, then you don't project them into your future anymore. And then getting your navigation system. And all the tools are set up for each of those steps so that you can move through and move forward and have ease with your choices and know where you're going. So it's kind of a cool book. I've used it many times in my other relationships that I've had, a couple of long-term relationships, and as it nears the end, like a good book, sometimes you need a little guidance along the way. You need some help. And so you just turn to that section of wherever you are. Like, if you don't know where you're going, step 3 is the clarity for your future. Or if you keep remembering all these past things and they keep hooking you, that's step 2, dissolving the past. And breaking through barriers, step 4. Like, that's one of the hardest things. Is most people come up against a barrier and then they shrink back instead of moving through it. So having the tenacity to move forward, and what tools can you quickly access to be able to do that with ease. And then how much more of you shows up in the process? What if you actually knew what you came here to be and do? And what if you don't need to wait anymore? What if you don't need permission from anybody else? What if nothing that you've ever done or chosen was wrong? What would you choose now? What would you like to choose next? And what magic and possibilities would be available for you if you had all of the many tools of the Access Foundation to be able to create it with ease, with joy, and with glory? And like, what if wow, there's such a space. What if you don't have to go into the upset for any of this stuff? Like, what if nothing that you're facing right now was greater than you? Would you be able to handle it a lot easier if you knew you were an infinite being with infinite capacities and infinite possibilities? Yeah, it's big. So stepping into these classes allows you to step into being more of you. Every single Access class gives you access to you. So what would you like to choose? Maybe it's just a clarity hour, or a bars class, or do a bars trade. If you haven't practiced bars several times a week, that's a really cool thing to try. I remember when I first learned bars, I was doing it once a week, and somebody had mentioned, well, I do it 3 times a week. And I'm like, why would you do that? That's like so much time to spend running bars. And he was like, well, check it out. And I did. And it was like, oh my God, Like, talk about clearing all your points of view, all of your limitations, all of the stuff that's going on, and actually being able to handle everything. Like, so try it. Bars 3 times a week. See what happens. Yeah, even if it's running somebody else's bars and you don't get yours run as many times, that also helps. Um, and wow, what else can I say? Like anything you resist, what if that is something for you to actually dive into and move through? Those resistances are usually on the other side of that barrier is so much more power and capacity that you have that you never knew. A lot of people talk about being in resistance to like the talk to the entities classes. Um, and when you actually choose that thing that you resist and stop resisting, you realize how much more energy you have for what you'd like to create as opposed to, holding off something. So, what is possible for you? What if you didn't resist? What if you actually dove into everything that that is coming up as like, wow, what could I create with this? What could I move beyond having this information and these tools? What if nothing stopped you ever again? So I'll leave you with that. What if nothing and no one can stop you? Just you. And that's cool. So choose what you choose and enjoy being you. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you hopefully in person someday. Take care.